after that game last night.
That's right. We couldn't wait till Wednesday.
Right?
We decided. Yeah, am I right? We decided to move Brad. I needed we needed more of you, and I needed baseball on Tuesday. So Brad now is who's still brought to you by the great John Howie Steak. Entertain your clients, family, friends, maybe me. John's there all the time, and most people, I hear from people say, "Man, what a nice guy!"
He goes around to each table, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I keep meeting him, but Brad never gets to meet him. Experience the best dining experience you can in the city. Visit johnhowiesteak.com. So Brad now going to be on Tuesdays. That's how special you are. That's how special you are.
I think so. All right.
I appreciate
the podcasters demanded it. I like that.
Well, and here's the deal. That was a fun game. Wow. God, that was a fun game, wasn't it?
I mean, improbable. I mean, wow, right? We're on set, have the whole show mapped out, 4-1 loss, everything's set. It's the Divish rewrite, right, in the ninth inning. I mean, how tough is it to be a closer, man? I mean, that is just a brutal position. I mean, Holmes giving up 0 earned runs all year. Yeah. And then in the most Mariner way possible, they score 4 runs in the ninth inning to steal that game. I mean,
it's the worst. It's the hardest thing, right? I mean, to get 3 outs is just the hardest thing to do in sports. It really is.
And everything's magnified, right? Because you're just in for 1 inning, and at best you've got a 1-run lead. So if you're going to give it up, it's going to be 2 runs. He gave up 4 last night. Everything's magnified. A starter gives up 2, it's a great start. Closer gives up 2 in the 1 inning, and it's just
terrible,
just brutal. And the good guy gets booed last night. I love Yankee Stadium. I mean, the guy has 0 runs all year, perfect, and he blows 1, and they boo him.
But I like that mentality. I wish we on the West Coast. I mean, unfortunately, I have too much of it. I never lived on the East Coast, but like, I do sometimes wish we had a little bit more of that. It's not to say that like they don't like Holmes anymore, but like, yeah, you suck tonight, man, and we're gonna let you know. Aaron Judge, remember when Aaron Judge got booed in the beginning of the season? Let me boot off the field. This is Aaron Judge, for God's sakes. But yet he comes out and has performed well, and then they'll give him a standing ovation. They let you know how they feel that day. I don't know. Nothing wrong with it.
No, I agree. And Judge even said that I'd boo myself too. I mean, he was really bad to start the year, but he's been great. And the way the Mariners do it. I mean, if Puck, someone said, hey, how have they won 89 games a year the last 3 years? I'd point to the one last night. I'd say the starting pitching, Benz doesn't break, right? I mean, the Yankees had a lot of opportunities to break that game open.
Sure did.
3 double plays, 2 with the bases loaded, so it's still manageable at 3-1. They get a run in the 8th, so it's 4-1. Still okay. And then you get infield single, walk, infield single, error, walk, run, bloop. Little line drive to right, and all of a sudden, sac fly, you got 4 runs and you win a game. I mean, the Mariners they just keep grinding, and they keep extending you. They keep it close with their pitching, and Munoz was unbelievably good last night. I didn't realize this. Ryan Roland-Smith said this, so I'm kind of hesitant to give him credit. And I don't know if it's true.
Let's not the ego get away from him now that he's collecting a check from the MLB Network. And maybe the MLB Network, and I say this with all grace and humility, can find you a little bit looser fitting suit, Ryan. Okay.
A little I think looser. He got those when maybe he was playing his playing days, and now
fella. Yeah. It's as one Bucky Jacobson told me a long time ago. One of the greatest lines in the history of baseball's best post-game show that we used to do on the radio. We used to do a hero and a goat after every night. Hero of the game, and goat of the game.
Then the sound effect. I loved it.
And Bucky said to me one night, I was wearing a T-shirt, and it was too tight, and it was a button T-shirt, and one of the buttons, I mean, it looked like it was going to come apart. And Bucky's hero of the night was the button, the 3rd button down on my T-shirt, because it kept it together. I would say that to Ryan. The buttons on your suit last night were the hero, because it was ready to split.
That vest was going to come out. But he said,
I'm sorry.
No, that's good. That's
I
good.
mean,
The
we can bust each other.
fastball.
Ryan's
The
funny. He can take that, right?
Yes, he is. No problem. I give him a lot more grief than that. Trust me.
Okay.
The fastball that he froze Judge on, which is unbelievable pitch, outside corner at 100 and 101, whatever it was. That was his
Have you
first
gone back and
pitch.
watched it? Have you
Yeah,
seen the stat cast
like
of it, the tracer on it?
yeah, three
You
sliders, and
could
then you get
walk.
that pitch.
Oh,
No, he
beautiful.
said that was the first time he had thrown 100 miles per hour or more this season, and I didn't realize that. But he said that was, and he did it again that inning. So he was amped up and just letting it loose. So, I mean, it was, things. I think players still get a little amped up to play there, and it
Oh
showed. I
yeah.
mean, Munoz was just, gosh, it was fun to watch
It's
him
the
in the ninth inning.
cathedral of baseball.
Yeah, yep,
It's
the history. Yep.
the mecca of the sport. These guys, all of them, for the most part, maybe not all of them, but a good majority of them, when they were kids, probably
Mm-hmm.
dreamt one day of putting on Yankee pinstripes. So it's yeah, you go in there, you know the history of it. Dylan Moore's on the MLB
MLB
Central
Network. Yeah.
morning. He's there. Brian Wu did High Heat. I'm watching that. He's doing High Heat with the Mad Dog. I mean, so they were
Wow.
everywhere yesterday, and it
Yeah.
was they to your point, they just continue to grind it out. They believe in themselves. They are an immensely flawed team offensively, but
Yes.
where they're not flawed, and I'll give these guys a ton of credit, where they're not flawed is um their ability to just be focused and stay with it and grind. Like they're
Mhm.
not flawed in the hustle department. I'll tell you that. Or the belief department, because they do. They will take it to that very last out. And that was I think represented that game last night. And in any
Mhm.
sport, but especially baseball, and you saw it in the ninth inning with Julio and Luke, speed kills.
Right.
I know
And
it kills in
hustle.
any sport, but speed and hustle and effort, you can't teach that kind of stuff. And that was on full display in that ninth inning.
Yeah, it was fun to watch these guys grind at bats and get nothing through seven off of Stroman. Canzone in his first game at Yankee Stadium, homers, a little bit of life. But you're right. Despite the numbers and the strikeouts, and as you mentioned, the flaws on offense, they continue to grind. I mean, Stroman's the first pitcher to go 7 innings, opposing starter to go 7 innings against him this year. They were the last team standing in that department.
Yeah.
Um, and the Mariners see the most pitches per plate appearance in the bigs, over 4.5, I forget the number, per appearance. So a lot of those end up in strikeouts, yes, but they grind, they foul off pitches, they figure out a way to put the ball in play, and good things happen when you put the ball in play. Sometimes we saw that in the ninth inning. So it's a team that just has confidence. They believe in themselves. They know the pitching is going to keep them close for the most part. Um, and if they can just claw and scratch and figure things out like they did in the ninth inning, you know, good things
It's
happen.
a we,
It's not pretty. Skipper said it's not
no,
pretty,
nothing,
but
there's
they get it
nothing.
done. No.
Yeah, there's nothing pretty of how they execute their offense. And I don't think I've ever seen a baseball team offensively that for 6 innings or against the
Seven.
starter, or and I'm just saying 6 or 7
Oh,
against the
right.
starter, whoever it is, they do nothing against the starter. Like I want to go back and look at what their average is, what their runs are. I'm sure the Baseball References got it pretty, handy for us, but
Mhm.
what they do against the starter, because they do very little to no damage against the starter. But once the other team then goes to their bullpen, it's like they come alive.
Right.
They
And
come
we saw it
alive
the
again.
last great point because the last win in Baltimore, the only win they got, Rodriguez shoved it for 6 shutout innings, did nothing against him. And then they get
Right.
2 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th, and they steal
Yeah.
another win. Right.
It's
It's
what
just
I wonder if teams change up their strategy against them and like we're just gonna keep because it's this new way of baseball, right? Where they're just not gonna keep their starters in past
right.
7 innings. It's not gonna happen anymore.
Right.
So and for a lot of times, sometimes it's 6. So everyone goes to their bullpen and that methodology for other teams actually appears to help this squad when it comes to
Mhm.
their offense. Get your starter out
True.
and we'll go to the bullpen.
Right. And a lot of times, when the bullpen is down an arm or two, like I don't want to say the good guys, but the guys you use when you're up. If they're
Yeah.
down or two, and the team like the Orioles had to go to their middle guys or their down guys. Down guys
Mhm.
are the ones that are used when you're down and not ahead. Just try to
They're
keep it close.
us,
Just
Brad.
they're you and I. We're the down guys,
We're the
and
down.
and and they hit the down guys. So you're right. I mean, if you're even if you've got like a 3-4 run lead, you got to bring in your guys. You can't let the Mariners get anything going offensively because if they get, to tie it, then usually favors them, right, with their pen if they can get it to Munoz. I mean, that's been the struggle lately. I know Bizzardo gave up a run last night, and they're going to have to add there. I mean, they've
But
got
I
to.
would say this, at
Munoz
least.
can't get 4 or 5 outs
No, I agree
multiple
with you,
times. I mean,
but
come
at
on.
least Bizzardo cleaned up the mess that was on,
Yes,
that
with
set
Snead.
forth
Yes.
for him with Snead. I mean, that was just, I mean, Bizzardo came in there at least got out of that, which, Snead was making a disaster of it. But you're right. I mean, they will. They have to. Because
Mm-hmm.
you can't run Munoz out there all the time.
Not for 4 and 5 out saves. No, I mean, and he's your only guy that can close right now. I mean, you got to protect him a little bit. So, before we were thinking offensively, they're going to add a bat at the deadline. Look at this, they got to add. I mean, yeah, it'd be great.
You,
I don't
you
know,
think they
but
will
I
still,
think
though.
bullpens. Yeah, I think bullpens are the bigger need for them to add. You get JP back. You got
Sure.
Raley, who's red hot, back-to-back 3-hit games. Canzone looks good since he's coming back. So, I mean, maybe you've got enough pieces. You keep rotating and platooning and figuring some things out offensively, and just really go to a starting pen or starters and lockdown pen and just try to win games like that. That's what they've been doing the last 3 years or so. It's
Yeah,
worked.
I
But
do think that they will, and I agree with all of it. I think you can have multiple players. You can add a bullpen. You can
true.
add another offensive piece. I do think that they will, something that we've talked about before, something that, Kruger brought up. I do think they'll flirt with the idea. What do they do with Hancock and Wu? Are one of those guys an option at some point as they get later in the season? And especially get in the playoffs. Do one of those guys going to make a transition? I would think,
Oh, to the
and
pen?
have to at least help you out in the bullpen. You're not going to use one. You're not using your fifth starter in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
No. And the first 2 rounds, you're not using your fourth starter really.
Yeah. So that will be an option just to
Yeah,
kick around.
true.
Would you Jim Duquette, who's on every Monday, former GM of the Orioles and Mets, kicked around the idea of Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso is most likely going to be on the market, and they have a hole at first base right now. Do you pull off a Pete Alonso deal, knowing that you are renting him because
Right.
he's a Scott
You're not going
Boras
to
guy?
sign him.
He's going to free agency, and I mean, maybe you could, but Boras is going to want him to go there. He's not going to want you to sign. Hey, we're going to trade for you, and then we're going to sign you for I go to free agency. That's not going to happen. And I don't know what he's going to command. I mean, Matt Olson, a couple of years ago, ended up getting 168 million.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Alonso's had a down year, but if you go look at his down year, he'd lead the Mariners in every statistical category.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
almost everyone. He'd be tied with Cal. He'd be one RBI behind Cal. His OPS would be better than anybody on the team. His slugging, I think, is better than anyone on the team. So, but you'd have to part, he thinks, with a player like Harry Ford. Ooh, see, you're thinking about it.
I'm thinking about it. I'm also thinking about how much money Boras is going to make this offseason. Just the two clients that we know about, Alonso and Juan Soto. So think about this offseason for him.
Well,
like
Soto's 500 million.
Yeah, he's gonna be.
He's
And I don't
25
know if
years
he's
old.
worth it, but I know he is good. I know. They think the Mets will make an offer and even outbid the Yankees, but we'll see. Let's get back to your question, Alonso. Is he okay? He's hitting like 220 or so. What he is basically a high strikeout guy, a 40 homer guy, legit power, 100 RBI guy, legit, but a high strikeout and a 220 hitter. Okay. So you get the power, which I like. He's going to hit less than Ty or Luke Raley at first. He's fine defensively. For a rental,
I mean, he slugs
I don't know.
454, which is going to be way better. I'm just saying they're going
That'll
to,
go up.
yeah, they're got to get to a point with Ty where it's just got to be. I mean, first of all, they got to go to a true platoon there now and not screw
You got to
around with it.
keep Raleigh in the lineup for sure.
Rayleigh's got to play. I just think that if you have an opportunity to replace him, I would. I think that, and again, it sucks to say, and because he's a great guy, he's an unbelievable person. But I would try to significantly upgrade there if they can. But I don't know. It's a risk. But I think it's also one of these, and I know you would agree with this, and everybody would agree with this. If acquiring Pete Alonso, and you could look in your crystal ball and go, well, yeah, you get him for 2 months, but Pete Alonso just helped you win the World Series, everyone would sign up for it. And they wouldn't care about Harry Ford and who else.
Right. Yeah, I don't care about prospects. You know, Ford is the one thing I don't at all, but the one thing is, you know, Cal, speaking of Boris, Cal is, you know, a Boris guy. And if you're not going to be able to sign him in a few years, Ford is the heir apparent, right? And if he's gone, now you got, you know, nothing at catcher. But again, that's a couple of years away. You can plan for that.
Yeah, and I would just say this about Harry Ford. If you didn't do it, I mean, Harry Ford is doing great at Arkansas. Like he is, the numbers are great. His OPS is great. He's 9 for 9 in steals. I mean, he is one of the. Does another catcher come to mind that can steal and run like him that you can think of? He could play another position easily. I know they've at least brought it up to him. He's unwilling to do it, and I get it. He considers himself a catcher, but third base, he couldn't play third base. He could play third base.
Probably. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, he could play those positions. He's a natural gifted athlete. He could do anything.
Yes.
But.
Yes. So that'd be interesting to see if it's just him or there'd be more pieces, or that would be an interesting.
Well, because Duquette thinks, and I tend to agree with him. There's going to be a market for Alonso, especially if it keeps going with the Mets. Like if they keep going in this spiral, that they're going to want to part with him and just move on because they're probably not going to re-sign him or want to sign him to what he wants. And there's going to be teams out there that could use some first base help. He mentioned Houston being a team. I mean, remember, they gave all that money to Jose Abreu, and then, of course, they got Singleton's over there now. I mean, there's a guy that they could be, if they're still in this and they're playing better baseball, they're still in this, they could be aggressive at the deadline. Now that's in your division, so you don't want that. And then he mentioned the Guardians being another option, to add some first base help, / DH. And I don't know. I just think that there's going to be teams out there that are going to be desirous to acquire him. And I think you just got to be ultra aggressive. And I think if it does present an opportunity to upgrade your team, I think I would pull it. I think there's a lot of people would want to pull it, Brad. It's just, does the front office want to do it? I would probably think the front office would, but would ownership want to sign off on it? If it means, one, we may have to pay him, which I don't know if they'd want to go down that road and pay him that much money, or, hey, if front office says, hey, I don't think we can re-sign him, but we're giving up like a crown jewel in our organization for a guy that we won't re-sign, is that worth the risk? This is why, Brad, they get paid the big bucks and we just sit here and yes about it all day.
I tell you, the Houston, that's an interesting landing spot for him. With Abreu down in the minors trying to figure things out. Can you imagine him in the Crawford boxes there in left field? Alonso, wow, that would be something.
Well, and they're an aggressive team at the deadline. They've always have been.
Yeah, they have, and they'll get back in. I mean, they've been playing a little better. I mean, they blew another one last night, but they're getting better. And I tell you, the 4-game set starting next Monday here will be really interesting to see how the two teams meet here, how they're playing, and because they're 5 games out now. As bad as they've been, the Astros they're 5 games out, and championship team, you just don't want to count them out, obviously. And if they were to add some like Alonso, that would be. But do you do it just so they don't? It's an interesting topic.
I think you do it. I think you do it because again, I don't know how many trade deadlines we have gotten to with this team where they've kind of been in this same pool of water where they are on the cusp of needing offensive help. Their pitching is so good, their bullpen is so good. They've got good pieces around them offensively that haven't lived up to their potential, but they have yet to pull off, and they haven't done it since they've been in this window of contention. They've yet to pull off a trade deadline from a positional player that sends a clear signal to the rest of the team. We are all in. We are pushing our chips in right now for this team because we believe in this team. And I think it's about time, honestly, that they send that message to Cal Raleigh. You want to keep him. You want to
Right.
keep Cal Raleigh. And this is kind of a twofold play, Brad. You want to keep Cal Raleigh, and you really, and I believe they do, and then you want to entertain him and you want to show him you're serious about winning, you need to do something. Because I think in the back of his mind, I think there's some doubt whether or not he feels that this group is all about winning. And I think that guy just has sleepless nights because I think all he wants to do is win.
And he knows how close they are. And you mentioned how ready they are right now with the staff and Munoz in the back end of that bullpen. You know, to take your point one step further, you know, you go back to the off season, and Cal pointed it out last year. Said, hey, when Texas beat them, eliminated them, he said, you know, look across the diamond and look in that dugout. Look what they added. You know, we need to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The most money that Jerry and his staff in 9 years, most money they have given to a free agent hitter was Mitch Garver. 2 years, $24 million. That's the biggest contract they've given a position of a hitter, free agent.
Do you remember who it was before that?
Was it Colton?
Wasn't it AJ Pollock?
Oh, it was Pollock, like 10 or 11. You're right. Yeah, that worked out well. So there have been some hit and misses in
the
free
Garver
agent,
hasn't worked out at all.
Not yet. And a 2-year deal, and yeah, that's so you're right. I mean, to make a splash, to do something that says, you know, hey, we're willing to spend, we're all in. This is our time. Let's take advantage of this window. You know, I think that would be a great message for the fan. And obviously, it's got to make sense for them fiscally and baseball wise too. But
yeah, you just don't
power and numbers. You're right. It's a huge upgrade at first base.
Yeah, you're not just making decisions based on what like the fans and all that. I mean, I get that, but at some point, you know, a byproduct of that is the message that it does send, you know, to the guys that are in that clubhouse, to Cal, to Mitch Haniger, to all these guys, and they all just want to win. And I think that they look at their team, and I think they acknowledge the flaws to it, right, Brad? I think they're not idiots. They know where they're deficient at. But I also do believe that they think, all right, we know that some of these guys are going to come back around, you know, whether it's the season, the weather turns, what have you. Our best player hasn't really done anything yet. And if he gets on a roll, wow, what does that mean for the rest of us? But if we can go out as maybe he starts cooking a little bit and we add a proven player, I just think the infusion of excitement, not only how the fan base reacts to it. I mean, these guys are all little kids and fans themselves. I mean, I think that the fist pumping, the high fives, if they were just use Alonso as an example, they find out on TV where they're sitting in the dugout or sitting in the clubhouse and playing cards, and they look up and they're sitting in their underwear, scratching their balls and go, oh, look at that. Hey, so-and-so just said we acquired Pete Alonso. Now you're sad for whoever's going, but you're like, that's Pete effing Alonso. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the polar bear. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know. That stuff, I think that carries a lot of weight.
No, I think you're right. I mean, it gives them definitely would give them a boost. And, you know, the last couple seasons they've watched, you know, other teams add at the deadline to do that. So that would, you know, mean a lot. You know,
and you watch your team at the same time, right? You've watching your team trading away popular players.
Yes, subtracting at the deadline, but the moves have worked out. You know, despite what maybe the players and some fans have thought. You know, the Seawald move on, the Graveman move on at the deadline. Yeah,
Well, I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
It's
I mean,
interesting.
did the Seawald one work out? I mean, I don't know. They their bullpen faltered at the end of the season. They ran out of arms, ran out of gas. Would you not have liked him to be there?
True, true. But I mean, you like Canzone, you like Rojas, right? You have Bliss down in AAA, who they like a lot still. So I think that will, I think ultimately work out for them. But you're right. I mean, with Arizona going to the World Series, that was a home run for them. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
no matter
and he
what
was
happens to
yeah.
Rojas or whatever, yeah, the trade for Arizona, yeah, to get Seawald, and I'm glad he's back pitching now. He was been out for the year with the what did he have? He had
Oh, what are you talking about?
a Seawald. Why can't I
No, I
think
can't
of it?
remember what he had.
It's the side. What JC
Oblique.
had.
Yeah,
Oblique. Geez,
oblique.
I couldn't think
We
of
don't,
that
we,
word.
we
Jesus.
don't because
Ah,
we don't have
we don't
those.
have
Well,
them. The
you
oblique.
probably do. I do not have an.
Oh,
I have
oh.
a side of whale blubber that does keep me very
It keep
buoyant in the water.
it keeps your oblique safe,
I do
right?
believe it keeps it safe. Yes.
You're not going to pull your oblique. But hey, good to
No,
have JP back.
I don't think it's possible to pull one's oblique with the armor I have around a set oblique area. Yeah, it's good to see JP back. That was
Yeah.
good. Thankfully that hand injury that, when he took it on the hand wasn't as serious.
Jeez.
Not good news for God, poor Sam Haggerty. God, that
Ah,
sucks.
the worst. I saw it last night. Somebody showed it
Oh,
to me, and I was like,
that's
oh,
terrible.
dang it. So he's out for the year. That's a 9-10 month. So
Oh,
he should be good to go next year. But man, I mean, his money is those
that's
legs,
the
his speed.
worst.
That's his money maker, man. So he needs
No,
to.
but what I was going to say is, yeah, that, but then it's also the money. $900,000,
Yes.
I think, was he making, but they don't need, and then they don't need to tender him a contract next year.
Oh
They don't,
yeah,
if they don't have, I mean, let's say
yeah.
I mean, that is just I mean, kick in the gut. And listen,
Ah
900 grand is 900 grand, and that's a lot of money for
yes,
us. Not a lot of money for these guys in that profession. You're hoping that one day, he gets the 30-ish, which I think he is, right? You kind of think you get
yeah.
a little bit of a payday, something that you kind of sets you up, and now he may not get that, which is just heartbreaker for
That is
him, man.
terrible. And such a
And you're
good
right.
guy.
And his speed is his game, and it that robs him of that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a bummer.
Ah, yeah. But with JP back, it'll be interesting to see. Um, you know, I would think that we'd see Dylan Moore continue to play, move around maybe a little bit. But I was
Yeah.
watching, with Urias last night, another bad throwing error. I mean, the guy's, I don't know if he's not healthy with that shoulder, but I would rather, I think Moore's going to play there
Yeah, I'd play him
more
a
than
third.
Urias.
Can we just
Yeah.
DFA Urias? Can we just get rid of him?
I don't know. I mean,
I mean, what's the point of him? He's
I
not
don't
very
know.
good. He doesn't hit. He doesn't field. He can't throw. Doesn't really run all that well. So I would just,
No.
it's like Office Space. What is it that you do here?
Yeah,
I mean,
Milton. Maybe
he's like a nice guy, but what he doesn't do anything good. So other than just having an extra body there to have an extra body, okay, but I don't know. I'd move on and just cut it and just cut it, rip off the band-aid. He just
have
hasn't done
more.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have more in Rojas there. And Polanco should be close to back today too, so they should have everybody kind of
Yeah.
back. But maybe it'll be like the Milton situation, right? Office Space. Maybe you just stop paying them, and the situation just takes
Yeah.
care of
We'll
itself,
see how the
right?
Players Association would handle that. But I think Brad, I think you're onto something. I think
Uh,
it's an idea that I would like to explore. How about just, when they're on the train? Are they taking the train again? Is
they
that what
are
they're doing?
taking the
Yeah.
train to DC. Yep, on Thursday. Yep.
Which I
Just kind
actually
of give them
like.
a ticket to like some other city or something.
Yeah, yeah, give him a ticket to another city. And he
One way
ends up
to
in,
Omaha.
Omaha. And he's like, where the hell? Where is everybody? You're out. Do you think
Uh,
the players like the train, or is that What do you think?
From what I've heard, I'm not there,
Nostalgia.
but I, excuse me, I talked to a couple of guys and our announcers. It was fun. Yeah, it's a different way to travel. It's quicker going from Baltimore, New York, DC. It's quicker than going to
Oh yeah.
airport, turn a plane and get back. So yeah, they got their
Good.
own cars. It was cool. They liked it. Yeah,
Yeah. Boozing, playing
I
some
like it.
cards. Yeah.
Exactly. Enjoying it.
Running up and down, playing pranks on everyone. All
There you go.
right.
Spending that meal money. I love it.
Spending that. How much do they get?
I
You know,
believe it is like 100, like $510 a day. So like this
105,
was a
105.
yeah, yeah, there's something like
So,
that,
so
110. So
I want
this one's
people
what,
to know.
11, that's 11, 12 days. So it's
Yeah.
interesting when you see like the rookies, the first year guys who are making the minimum, like they get that, and it's always like an envelope, a wad of, you used to be a big wad of cash.
Because I
Gets an
want people to
envelope.
understand that is it still that way, or like
I don't
where you
know.
used to just get cash? I remember that. You used to
Yes,
just get.
you get an envelope full of cash, all hundreds. So like this trip's probably, is it 12 days because off day? Maybe
So they
12
do it
days. So you
ahead of
get
time. They're not giving it to you every day. They just give it ahead of time.
no, they give to when you're on the plane. The first city. So this one going to Baltimore, the traveling secretary would go and go boom, 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 and I'd always be like this, just waiting for him. But no, skip. Boom,
Do you
boom, boom.
think when fans hear that? Because I bet you there's a lot of fans that don't realize this. That when fans hear that professional athletes who make millions of dollars still get a per diem from their club, huh?
True,
That's
it's part of
that's
the
stuff.
Players Association, the bargaining, but they have to claim that as income, and they do pay tax on that. So I'm actually glad that I never had to, because remember these guys
Oh,
get taxed in every city that they play in.
it's true.
So you want to talk about doing tax time, like how a nightmare that would be. So
Yeah, and
right, so
especially like Otani's tax guy and money guy. You know, they're just
he's like,
stealing
where's
from you.
17 million go? What is that? Yeah.
Uh, check my bank account, says zero. I thought we had like 40 million in there.
But these guys, the first year guys, the rookies, get that money and they're like, boom, right in the pocket, right? Because remember, with your clubhouse dues that you pay, you get a meal, before the game and after the game. So these guys can
Yeah,
pocket a lot of that per diem. Meanwhile, the
that's what
vets, the guys that have money, they're like, put it on the table, maybe play some cards, just kind of enjoy it. They don't think about it or need it, whatever. Which is like, I'm like,
I would be squirreling that
$20.
away. God,
Oh,
I'd be squirreling that away.
100%.
Just I don't care how much money I'd earn. I just would be like putting it away. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
So,
A little
all right,
Disneyland
good
trip
stuff.
right here.
I like you on Tuesdays.
Yeah, it feels
Good stuff.
better. We're not kind of rushed or crunched by Divish, kind
Yeah,
of
and screw
looming
his.
over our heads.
Yeah, he's a pain in the ass, isn't he?
Drinking with his kids in the airport. Not his kids,
Yeah,
but
but somebody
kids in
else's.
general.
But knowing him the way he ran around in his 20s, it could be his kids.
Could be.
You
He is
know.
going to make a very affectionate father one day, I hope, for him.
Yeah, I don't fatherhood.
I
I
hope
don't
it's
think
in his
he's in.
cards.
I don't think it
Maybe
is.
not.
All right, Brad.
Maybe not.
Thank you. It's all brought to you by John Howie Steak. Your next clients, entertain them, family, friends. John Howie Steak. Experience the best dining venue in the city. Visit johnhowiesteak.com. Brad, Adam, every Tuesday now here at pucksports.com. See you, Brad.
Yeah.